Have you ever noticed how the most exciting things in life often leave you feeling unsatisfied? Like the dream job that just became work after a few months, or that vacation you planned for that year somehow didn't live up to the hype. What if I told you there is a counterintuitive secret to happiness that most people miss? A secret that billionaires like Charlie Munger swear by, yet most of us resist.
It's sleeping in on Sundays. I guess it's different for each of us, and that's okay. Well, I just wanna be happy. How to get there? Glad that you asked me. I think it's different for everyone.
The first rule of happiness is low expectations. I know that sounds pessimistic, but stick with me because this might be the most important mental shift you ever make. Your happiness depends on your expectations more than anything else. Think about it. What truly determines whether you feel satisfied or disappointed is not what happens to you. It's how what happens compares to what you expected. So, in a world that tends to get better for most of the time, an important life skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It's also one of the hardest. Let me illustrate this with a common scenario. A student works tirelessly on a project and putting in extra hours and overcoming numerous obstacles. When they finally complete it successfully, they overjoyed for about 2 weeks. Then they notice a classmate who completed the similar project but they received more recognition and additional opportunities because of it. Suddenly their achievement feels inadequate. It's staggering how expectations can alter how you interpret your current circumstances. There is a quote I think about almost daily. If you only wish to be happy, this could be easily accomplished, but we wish to be happier than others. And this is always difficult, for we believe others to be happier than they are. We do not just want to be happy, we want to be happier than others. And that's where things get complicated. It's a path of least resistance to determining what life owes you and what you should expect. Everyone does it, subconsciously or not. Everyone looks around and says, what do other people like me have? What do they do? Because that's what I should have and do as well. This is why social media can be so toxic for happiness. You are comparing your behind the scenes to everyone's highlight reel. It's not a fair comparison, but we make it anyway. Let's talk about money because there is a big misconception here. Listen, money buys happiness in the same way drugs bring pleasure. Incredible if done right, dangerous if used to mask a weakness, and disastrous when no amount is enough. Studies show us that money does increase happiness up to a certain number. After that, the correlation weakens significantly. Why? Because once your basic needs are met, it's all about expectations. Here is something profound to consider. We tend to take every precaution to safeguard our material possessions because we know what they cost. But at the same time, we neglect things that are much more precious because they do not come with a price tag attached. The real value of things like our eyesight, our relationships, and our freedom can be hidden to us because money is not changing hands there. Same with expectations. They are easy to ignore because their value is not on a price tag. But remember, your happiness completely relies on your expectations. When asked, you seem extremely happy and content. What is the secret of living a happy life? 98-year-old Charlie Munger replied, the first rule of happiness is low expectations. If you have unrealistic expectations, you are going to be miserable your whole life. You want to have reasonable expectations and the life results, good or bad, as they happen to you with a certain amount of stoicism. This is coming from a billionaire who could have literally anything he wants. Yet his advice is not about accumulating more and more, but it's about expecting less. We resist this idea because we believe high expectations drive ambition. But what if they are actually robbing our contentment? Here is what I have come to call the happiness equation. Happiness is equal to reality minus expectations. When reality exceeds expectations, you feel joy. And when expectations exceed reality, you feel disappointment. It doesn't matter how objectively good your situation is. All that matters is that gap. There is an insightful perspective on marriage worth considering. It only works when the both people want to help each other without expecting nothing in return. If they both do that, they are both pleasantly surprised. These pieces of advice are easier to said than done. I think it's often hard to distinguish high expectations from motivation, and low expectation feels like giving up or minimizing your potential. But the only way around that might be recognizing two things. One is the constant reminder that wealth and happiness is a two-part equation. What you have and what you expect less need. When you realize that each part is equally important, you see that the overwhelming attention we pay to getting more and the negligible attention we put on managing expectations make little sense, especially because the expectation side can be much more in our control. The other is to understand how the expectation game is played. It's a mental game and it's often crazy and agonizing, but it's a game that everyone is forced to play. So you should be aware of the rules and strategies. It goes like this. You think you want progress, both for yourself and for the world, but most of the time that's not actually what you want. You want to fill a gap between what you expect and what actually happened to you. And the expectation side of that equation is not only important, but it's often more in your control than managing your circumstances. Let me share a personal story. Last weekend, I decided to go for a casual walk somewhere. I didn't expect much, just some fresh air and a break from my routine. But what I got was far more than rewarding. I met an old friend by chance and even witnessed a beautiful sunset. The experience turned out to be unexpectedly delightful because my initial expectations were so modest. Now compare that to the time I planned and elaborated a weekend to get away with friends. I envisioned everything being perfect. The accommodations, the activities and everything and everyone having a great time. But when the minor issues arose, like delays and disagreements over plans, they felt disproportionately frustrating because the high expectation I have built it up so much in my mind. Here are some practical strategies I have found helpful. First, practice deliberate gratitude. Each morning, take some time. Identify 3 things that you are grateful for in your life that you normally take for granted. Second, set realistic baselines. Before any experience, ask yourself, what is the reasonable outcome here? Do not let your imagination inflate your expectations. Apply the reverse gap thinking. Instead of looking at the gap between where you are and where you want to be, look at the gap between where you are now and where you used to be. Fourth, use the expected value framework. When making decisions, consider both the best possible outcome and the most likely outcome. Fifth, create expectation buffers. Add 30% more time, effort, resources than you think you will need for any project or goal. These techniques are not about lowering your ambition. They are about setting yourself for the joy rather than just disappointments. The paradox of expectations is this. By expecting less, you often get more satisfaction, more joy, and more appreciation for what is already there. This doesn't mean you should abandon your dreams and stop setting goals. It means approaching those goals with humility, patience, and perspective. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, it's not events that upset us, but our judgments about them. Our expectations are those judgments. By managing our expectations with as much care as you manage your circumstances, you can unlock a kind of happiness that doesn't depend on external achievements or possessions. And that, my friend, is true freedom. I hope this video is worth watching. If you found something interesting or something valuable, let me know in comments. And you can also mention what kind of expectation have you been holding that might be stealing your joy. And remember, happiness begins within. Managing expectations is the key to unlocking it. Peace out.
And honestly, I'm not really sure I want saving. I like to be my own worst enemy. There's no risk if you don't try at anything, so I'ma just keep buying everything. See you in the next life, have to be a better me. I don't think that my head's on straight. Gotta flip it and grip it and go and get an x-ray. What's wrong with me? I just feel pretty cool that I'm alive and have better days. I could
इस रोड के बारे में कुछ कहना चाहोगे सर?
This road is connected from my heart, from the bottom of my heart. So by the security guard was very good. His name was BK Singh. BK sir, love you.